Hello everyone, welcome to Voxcel's YouTube channel and I am Piyush Goyal. In this video we will discuss true false not given. So without further ado, let's start. So this is our paragraph which we will solve together. UN warns over impact of rapidly aging population. So what we will do, if you have seen my previous video, you should know. We will go straight to our questions. Okay, we have to write true, false or not given. First question. The growth of the elderly population is going to make it extremely difficult to provide adequate social provision. So when the question will be true, when the growth, because of the growth of elderly population, so it is becoming difficult to provide them enough social provision. So it is becoming extremely difficult. So if this is the case, we will say the answer is true. But if it is not that difficult, or rather when it is written that it is easy to provide like social provision or social welfare for the elderly, we'll say false. And when the difficulty is not mentioned, we will say not given, something like that. Okay, let's see, we'll read this particular paragraph. Then first, the world needs to do more to prepare for the impact of a rapidly aging population. The UN has warned, particularly in developing countries. Within 10 years, the number of people aged over 60 will pass 1 billion, and a report by UN Population Fund said the demographic shift will present huge challenges to countries' welfare, pension and healthcare system. So here it is written, the population, people aged over 60, they will pass 1 billion, and this demographic shift will present huge challenges to countries' welfare, pension and healthcare system. If something is presenting you a like huge challenge, meaning to say it's extremely difficult to conquer. So yes, it will be challenging for the countries to like do this particular thing. So our answer to this should be true. Moving on to the next question. Approximately 30% of the population is over 60 years old. When the answer will be true, when approximately 30%, meaning to say like 1 or 2% more or less than 30, if it is like 28 or 32, 33, 34, something like that, we'll say approximately 30% of population is 60 years or old. When the answer will be false, when population may be way more than 30% or way less than 30%, with that is 60%, 60 years old or 60 years or more. Okay, when it will be not given, when we don't know the number of people who are 60 years, over 60 years. So let's begin. The UN agency also said more had to be done to tackle abuse, neglect and violence against older persons. The number of older people worldwide is growing faster than any other group. The report, Aging in the 21st Century, a Celebration and a Challenge, estimates that 1 in 9 people around the world are older than 60. Okay, so here is our information. It is written quite subtly, so it's in a subtle way. Sorry. So can you guess, pause the video and try to like guess the answer, or maybe try to verify the answer. We not guess is not appropriate word, I'll say. So it is in the fraction form. If we say 1 in 9, so that means, is that just meaning to say, let me write here if I'm able to do so. Okay, I'll do here some math here. So they have written 1 in 9, so that translates to 1 divided by 9. So let's just say, for sake of simplicity or mathematical purpose, change it into 1 in 10. So what does this translate to? 1 divided by 10. And what is the percentage? If you are an academic student, you should know how to do fractions, or it is quite simple. So 1 divided by 10 into 100, that just translates into 10%. And if I do a bit more math here, so if you divide 100 by 9, so it will come up like 11 point something percent. Okay, where is the percent? Okay, 11 point something percent. So whatever the case is, it's way less than 30%. So in both cases, we know the answer to this should be false. Okay, it's quite tricky because here they have said 30% and here they have written that in like fractional value. So instead of percentage, so you have to calculate percentage yourself. Next question. Developed countries are much better prepared than developing countries for 2050. So this is our like locator word. So here question is saying developed countries are much better prepared than developing countries. So it is true, when developed countries are actually better prepared than developing countries, we will say true. When the developing countries are better prepared than developed countries or are equally well prepared as developed countries, we will say false. When we don't know which country is better prepared or are both countries ill prepared, we will say not given. The elderly population is expected to swell by 200 million in the next decade to surpass 1 billion and reach 2 billion by 2050. So here it is 2050. The rising proportion of older people is a consequence of success. Improved nutrition, sanitation, healthcare, education, and economic well-being are contributing factors, the report says. But here is another 2050 I have found. Let me read here. But the UN and a charity that also contributed to report, HelpAge International, say that aging population is being widely mismanaged in many developing countries with large populations of young people. The challenge is that governments have not put policies and practices in place to support their current older populations or made enough preparations for 2050, the agency said in a joint statement. Okay, so here they are saying that older people are not utilized properly, meaning to say because of large population or developing countries of young people, government have not put policies and practices into place so that they are better prepared, or they are prepared for, or they have made enough preparations for 2050. But are developed countries better prepared than developing countries? We don't know anything about that. So for that, I'll say the answer to this should be not given. Next question. More financing is necessary to ensure new pension schemes are successful. So more financing means we need more money so that we can make new pension schemes successful. So if we need more money to make new pension schemes successful, we'll say true. But if we do not need more money, meaning to say the amount we are allocating to these schemes right now is more than sufficient or is sufficient to make new schemes successful, we'll say false. And if there is no mention of anything about new schemes or money or being successful or not, we'll say not given. Okay, we'll continue. The report warns that the skills and experience of older people are being wasted, with many underemployed and vulnerable to discrimination. Age said more countries need to introduce. Okay, so we are introducing pension schemes to ensure economic independence and reduce poverty in old age. So here we are talking about introducing new schemes. So if you are introducing pension schemes, mean to say they are new schemes. In other words, it stressed that it was not enough to simply pass legislation. The new schemes needed to be funded properly. So if you need to fund properly, that just emphasize that previous schemes were not that funded properly, that they didn't have proper funds maybe. So we need proper funds for this particular scheme. So new schemes, new pension schemes need more financing. Yes, they need proper funding. So we'll say true. Moving on to the next question. Elderly people in India are not always being looked after as well as they were in the past. So here, if the question is saying elderly people in India, means to say people over 60 in India are not taken care of like they were used to do in the past. So they were not well looked after as they were in the past. So if they are not well looked after compared to the past, or if they are neglected as compared to the past, then we'll say true. But if the level of care is same, or if the level of care is more than the past, we'll say false. And if there's no mention what happened in the past, or there is no comparison between past and present, we'll say not given. So moving forward, the UN report used India. So we had India here as an example, saying it needed to take urgent steps in this area. Almost two-thirds of India's population is under 30, but it has also 100 million elderly people. So we have elderly people written here, a figure that is expected to increase threefold by 2050. Traditionally meaning to say in the past, basically what happened in the past, people in India live in large extended families and elderly people have been looked after. But the trend now is to have smaller nuclear families, and many of the countries elderly are finding themselves cast out. So now many elderly people of India are feeling cast out, meaning to say they are facing neglect, they are not being taken care of. So the question is also saying are not always being looked after as well as they were in the past. Yes, because many are being cast out. So this is the true information. Moving on to the next question, sixth. India is starting to deal with the neglect of its elderly population. So yes, we are neglecting our elderly population in India. The question is saying, so now they are saying whether we are like addressing the situation, Indians are addressing the situation or not. If they are addressing this situation, then it's true. If they are not, then false. And if not mentioned, if something is not given related to this, whether they are doing something about this or not, we'll say not given. There are more and more cases of physical and mental abuse, including neglect suffered by the elderly at the hand of their families. It is slowly becoming a widespread social problem, particularly in urban areas. One which India still has not got grips with. Our correspondent says. So India has not got to grips with. In simpler terms, it means India has not been able to deal with it. So we are not being able to deal with it, but the question is saying we have started to deal with it. So obviously this answer should be false. Next question, last one. Seventh, Bolivian families tend to look after their elderly relatives better than many other countries. So if these families looked after their relatives better than like a lot of other countries, will say true. Maybe instead of many countries, they have given the name of 4 or 5 countries. Okay, we'll say true. But if they are not looking taking care better of their elderly relatives, then like a lot of countries, we will say false. Or if it is written like they are one of the worst countries for the elderly people, we'll say false. And if there is no comparison given, we'll say not given. Let's see. By contrast, the UN report cited the case of Bolivia, okay, this is our keyword, as an example of good practice in the developing world. All Bolivians over the age 60 get a pension that is equivalent of about $30 or £19 a month. Bolivia suffers from frequent flooding and landslides, and older people there have been organized into brigaders, blancas, white hair brigades, They help with preparation for emergencies and assessing humanitarian aid. So there is no comparison whether the people are better cared for than other countries or not. So because of the lack of comparison, we will say not given. So first we'll like check our answers: true, false, not given, true, true, false, not given. True, false, not given, true, true, false, not given. So this is how you should solve your true, false, not given. And if you want our help, you feel free to contact us. I'm gonna leave the link to my website in the description box. You can contact us there. And if you are stuck in, like if you're not able to get band 7 in your speaking or your writing or your reading, or if you're not able to get 8 in your listening, we will be happy to help you. We have had a lot of students, so we have numerous success studies, successful cases. So if you want to be our next successful story, we will be happy to do that. We will tell you where you are lacking, why you are not able to get all elusive 7 in your writing or your speaking. Despite of making a lot of efforts, we will tell you about your weak areas that you need to improve to get that band 7 or more. So I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.